welcome to HigherHer, the Talent Collective podcast that we have just started. We are very, very excited to be here for our second episode. And today we have Kaylee Estes with us. We are so excited to introduce Kaylee to our audience. Kaylee is a newer member of ours, and she has recently founded our Atlanta chapter. So very excited to have you, Kaylee. Kaylee and I met months ago, and we started talking all about, potentially having her start an Atlanta community for us. Kaylee also has a very impressive background in talent acquisition, and about a year and a half, 2 years ago, started her own thing. So she has been absolutely killing it. So Kaylee, tell us, we'll just start out kind of open-ended, but tell us a little bit about you and about your journey in TA, what you're doing now.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. It's so great to be here and super excited to bring Talent Collective to Atlanta. My background in TA, it's very similar to what you hear. Like, you don't go to college to become a recruiter. So my first role was with a staffing firm here in Atlanta. I initially interviewed thinking I would be a healthcare recruiter, and they put me on a technical recruiting team and quickly found that was a really good fit. So I dove into that, and I was there for almost 4 years. And then I made the transition into internal talent acquisition. So I was hired by a startup to really get their TA off the ground. So in Atlanta, I've worked with two really high growth startups here. And then in January 2023, I founded my own talent strategy and recruiting firm. So it's been a journey, and it's great to get to see all sides of it.
Well, congratulations. Such a successful background. I think we talked about this the first time you and I chatted, but you worked at Greenlight, which I use for my kids.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Me too.
Yeah.
I still use it.
If anyone needs to have a money management system for their kids and their, what's it called? Allowance, I guess.
Yeah.
Check them out.
Yeah. It was a great experience. We grew the team from less than 100 to over 500 people in 3 years. So it was a lot of fun.
To our questions. So first off, we'd love to understand a little bit about how you got into TA. Everyone's stories are different, and would love to hear a little bit about your story.
Yeah, well, it started out, I had a good friend here in Atlanta who was working at a staffing firm, and I had I was in the middle of my first job post-college and was looking for kind of my next role, but I wanted it to be a longer term career path. So my friend called me and she's like, "Hey, my company's hiring. You should come interview for this recruiter role." I had no idea what recruiting really was, but I went into the interview and it went really well, and I loved all of the people that I met, and I was like, I'll figure it out to get to work with people like this. So my first role was with a staffing firm, very much like an entry-level recruiter. I also wanted to be a healthcare recruiter, and I ended up being a technical recruiter. So just jumped right into that, and it definitely stuck, and that's still what I'm focusing on today.
Oh my gosh, so special. Well, and those were the days, right, when you got to go in, apply for a job, and you pretty much get it right away.
It feels so different now. Yeah, it's a very different experience finding a job than what it used to be.
Exactly.
Yeah, 8 rounds of interviews at one company, but hey, now you're your own boss.
One and done. Yeah, it was like an interview. You got a phone call. You got a job offer. You started the next week.
Those were the days. Yeah. Well, speaking of hiring and getting hired, you've obviously worked agency and in-house. We'd love to hear a story of maybe a candidate that you place, a really, really cool story that just sticks out and you'll never forget that situation.
Yeah. Well, there's so many. After doing this for so long, I'm sure you guys can relate. But the one that immediately came to mind was right when I first started my agency. One of my first clients was a former CTO that I worked with, and he was at a new company, and he was able to hire an entry-level software engineer, which I'm sure you guys also know, those roles don't really come along that often, especially ones where they'll take a candidate from a boot camp that hasn't ever worked full-time as a software engineer before. So I was really excited about the search. I rarely get to work on roles like these, so I was pumped. So I ended up working with a candidate that was a technical support engineer at another startup in Atlanta. He had just finished boot camp, and he interviewed, and he did so well. They were so impressed. They hired him almost right away. And the cool thing about that I go back to is like, I know that getting him and helping him get that job set him on the path to getting another software engineering job down the road. So it's just been really great to see somebody like that succeed and, change their career path. So yeah, that one definitely stands out. And he was just like the world's nicest person. So I don't know. It's just those types of candidates like really stick with you and make the job totally worth it. I think that's why I enjoy recruiting so much. And that's why I wanted to be a recruiter, is because the idea of helping somebody get their first job or something like that just felt really great. So,
and you'll have many more.
Yeah. It's always fun when you get, those feel good type of roles every once in a while. So yeah, that one definitely stands out.
That's why we're all in this business, to change those lives. And I think especially when you place somebody so junior, you really get to set the trajectory of their careers. So very, very cool. Okay, so for our next question, let's hear about someone or people that have helped elevate you in your recruiting career.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people that come to mind, but when I was thinking about this, the one that stands out the most is probably the team that I worked with before I went out on my own. So while I was at Greenlight, you brought up Greenlight before, as their head of TA, I was a part of an all-women recruiting team, and they were amazing. And I was a first-time, director, head of TA, so they were super supportive and just a really great team to work with. So I would definitely say that they helped elevate me, because I had a lot to learn about how to be a director of TA and things like that. So those folks came to mind immediately. And then I also think like the people I worked with at my first staffing firm, just that team in general, they're some of the best recruiters that, I've ever worked with. And I think the teams around me have always elevated me because I've learned a lot from them. You get a lot of support from the teams that you work with. So, that's definitely what comes to mind when you ask that.
I love about your team that was like under you, so to speak. It's almost like kids, right? It's like we're always thinking about like, what do we want to teach our kids and what do we want them to learn from us? But sometimes it can be so reciprocal, right?
Yeah.
Like our kids can be our greatest teachers sometimes, right? Like just how, so many things.
Yeah, you learn a lot, especially I wasn't a first-time manager. I'd been managing teams for a while, but I was definitely a first-time like leader of an organization of that scale, and just what we were tasked with, what we had to do during that time. It was a lot of like learning on the job, and you're faced with a lot of situations you don't know. So I definitely learned a lot from the team that I was working with, and they were a great support system along the way. And I've definitely taken those lessons as I've started my own business and thinking about like the type of team I want to have down the road and things like that.
Amazing. Thank you.
Great. Yeah. So next question, this is like right on brand with this podcast. We really wanted to use HigherHer as a platform to really elevate the voices of various women in talent that we've met along the way through our journey of starting Talent Collective. And so our favorite question is, who has really empowered you? Is there a woman that has empowered you in the industry that you would like to shout out?
Yeah. So there's actually a mom at the school that my kids are at who owns an agency here in Atlanta. And so when I had the idea to go out on my own, she was my first phone call. And normally I think recruiting kind of gets a bad rap that people are really competitive with each other and they're not going to help each other because you could be like viewed as the competition or something like that. But she was the exact opposite. she took me out to coffee. She was like, here's the name of my banker. Here's the name of my lawyer. Here's the name of, this marketer that I use. She basically helped me go from zero to, oh, I have a business now. Like everything from, did you think about you have to pay occupational tax? Did you think about all of these things that you definitely didn't think about when starting your business? And so she's been a really great support. And I know I can call her, on those rougher days of business ownership. And she's been there and done that and has an incredibly successful agency and team around her. So she's been such a support, and she was always my cheerleader, which I just appreciate. And I hope to be that for other people in the industry. I really try not to view other recruiters in a competitive light. Like I just want to help people, especially if they're going out on their own, trying to start something.
Yeah. So. What a great story. And it's such a reminder of stories like that we've heard of within Talent Collective, the community. Yeah. There's several different women agency owners that are now like partnering together. They're doing splits, and they're helping teach each other different verticals or like introducing. And so it's just really refreshing to see that other women doing the same exact thing are really about amplifying other women and not taking. So
that's been one of my favorite reasons for Talent Collective. You didn't ask this, but I'll say it, like just knowing that I can reach out to people in the community that have owned a business before or have like walked the path that I'm walking. There just are not that many people out there that have gone out and started their own agency. And there are definitely not a lot of women out there that have done it. So that's been a really great resource. And I think about my friend and I'm like, man, she was so encouraging. I'm not sure I would have had the guts to actually go do it, without her being like, oh yeah, you've got this. And, when you need a banker, give me a call. I'll tell you who to call. Yeah. So all the things you don't think about when you're starting a business, she was there for. And it's so helpful.
Well, awesome. We're so honored that you decided to join us on our podcast and be a part of our community and also helping us really champion our mission in Atlanta. We're so lucky to have met you along the way and appreciate, giving us an opportunity to have a conversation with you about your inspiring story. So thank you, Kaylee, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So we will see you soon. At our launch coming up October 3rd in Atlanta. But thank you everybody for tuning in today. And we're excited to bring you more inspiring stories from other women in talent. And we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.